Hi.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today Hadi and I will be doing something a bit more fun,
Casual.
right?
Indeed, yeah.
It will still be Christ based, as our main goal is to spread the gospel at all times in every video that we post. And so we'll be talking a bit, well, you'll see the title, what the actual, what we'll be doing in the video. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and get started. I think it'll be fun just to hear his responses. Some of the questions he's heard, some of them he has no idea what I'm about to ask him. So it'll be honest response, and we'll just enjoy, just to get his perspective on what it's been like being married to me. Okay, so the first question is, what did you think about my cooking the first time you tried it?
Different. And one thing I will say is when I first went round your apartment, obviously I'm assuming you had been cooking, because like the apartment smelled like food, not in a bad way. And with British food, we kind of just, it's mostly just salted. So your food was very much like, I don't know, just full of all these different spices and all this sort of stuff. And it was very intense on the flavour palette. For someone as boring as myself, like my seasoning is just salt and pepper usually. So it was quite intense. She obviously showed me like soup and stuff, Jamaican soup. And obviously for us, soup is just mainly the broth. There was massive bits of chicken and yam and all this sort of stuff, which as we mentioned, I thought was a log. I thought it was a bit of wood or something. But yeah, it was different. Very much.
What's your favorite Jamaican food so far?
Does Jamaican KFC count?
It does count. It does.
That one then.
So it's funny you say that, because when I first moved here, Jamaicans know. I know every country will say this is not the truth, but Jamaica has the best KFC in the entire world. Okay, I've been to about 3 or 4 countries. I've tried their KFC, and it's not bad, but it's nothing compared to Jamaican KFC. And so when I was telling Harley, he was like, "What's the big, England has KFC. There's no big deal." And then I introduced him to the barbecue chicken.
Like I'll argue even just the coating was different as well. It felt more flaky, but not in a bad way. In a sort of more succulent way, if that makes sense. And it was so different, but like, in a good way, like better. That it made me now not like my own KFC nearly as much. I feel like I'm missing out. Does that make sense?
No, I completely understand. So I know some people will disagree with us, but Jamaica does have the best KFC in the world. So the second question is, did you think my accent would be so strong, and could you understand it on the first date?
Well, let's break it down. So the first thing, I wasn't expecting any accent. Because I've never dated someone who wasn't from England. So when I first met you, it was like, whoa. Like the second she started talking, I was like, whoa, okay, I need to actually tune in. Otherwise I won't understand you. So that leads me on to my second thing. No, I didn't really understand I'd say about 30% of what was coming out of your mouth. I had to really focus when I was listening to you. That's reason why I didn't eat, because I couldn't. I had to focus
on listening.
Not only was I nervous, but I had to focus on what you were saying. So that's why we were really close on that first date, because I, not even for romantic reasons, but because I needed to understand. And the reason why is because obviously I knew you were from America. You had came from America. So Americans have accents, but it's not like anything too dissimilar from, because it's the same language, isn't it? But because obviously although you had came from Florida, you were actually a Jamaican. Gosh, I had to really focus.
It's funny because I was speaking English with mine on the date. But I think even though I speak English, I'm speaking standard English, because of my upbringings and my Jamaican culture, some of the words we may pronounce it differently, and then another thing is that I speak really quickly. I speak very speedily. So I have to really be conscious when I meet somebody new that's not Jamaican. Slow down, pronounce your words properly. So even when I moved to the US for the first time, that was difficult because I didn't realize I'm still speaking English, so I didn't realize that there would be much of a difficulty with understanding what I was saying. But the Jamaican accent is very thick.
I mean, because to yourself, it just sounds like normal.
It's English, it's English.
You don't know you have an accent until someone else points it out.
Exactly.
And when it came to, what would you say, those first couple months, I swear your accent is less intense than it used to be.
I think you got used to it.
That's the thing. So I can't tell if it's that I got used to it or that it's actually got weaker. But I feel like it's halfway. I feel like it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
Because now and again, you pronounce things very British now. Yeah. Mummy, daddy. Like you say things which sound kind of British. Yeah. And it's weird how our language... And I find myself going,
Oh, yeah, he always says that. I found
myself doing that now and again.
Yeah. And that's not even Jamaican. I think that's African. So what happened is I pick up accents very easily. So even when I was in Jamaica, people believe that I was African and not Jamaican. Like, I pick up accents very quickly. And then when I moved to Grenada, the accent changed again. Then coming here, and so with every new language and love culture that I've learned, I've kind of picked up like here and there, a few things from different cultures. But yeah, I do have to speak very slowly when I meet new people because my words get, I guess, tangled together very easily, and it can be a bit difficult at
especially
times.
when you're passionate. Like you speak very quickly.
Yeah, most times I'm speaking proper when I'm angry or I'm on the phone with family back home. It just comes on and I forget that I have to switch back, speak English because he doesn't he does understand a few things here and there.
A little bit of patois.
Yeah,
it's getting better.
I think it has gotten a lot better. But when I go too quickly, it just kind of goes over his head completely.
Like when you say "gyow," "gyow."
Yeah, sometimes I say that. But yeah, so
cho.
Yeah, that I'm always saying cho. That's very common. And hissing my teeth. Or in Jamaica we say kiss my teeth. Hiss your teeth. But yeah. So let me go on to the next question. Do you think it would be, or dating me would be largely different from dating an English woman?
Well, going back to my original point of thinking you were solely American, that didn't even really... The truth is, like, despite the differences, physical and also cultural, it didn't really cross my mind until the later developments of our relationship. So, like, I just expected it's just a woman who happens to be from a different country. You see what I'm saying? So I wasn't really thinking about the deeper sort of things, which obviously accent, language, stuff like that play a role. So no, I'd argue no, I didn't expect that. However, it's not the case that I expected it to be the exact same either. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't expect, I guess, because the question is largely different.
Yeah.
So it's a no to largely, but a yes to, I did expect some difference.
Yeah. I think for myself, for sure, I was a lot more aware of, like, going into the relationship that is going to be a bit more difficult than if I, for example, dated a Jamaican or dated an African American, for example. Just because I was very aware that I don't know much about British culture. That's the first thing. And so I had to learn a lot in terms of, like, even how he likes his eggs. I had to learn so much about what they eat and, being able to cook and prepare these meals for him, along with, because I use so much extra spice, I have to be able to tone that down so that he can also enjoy the food and it's not too spicy for him. And so I was aware, and I think I just took time to try and learn all those differences. But it has been easier, I think, with time, because we've gotten to understand that now I know exactly what his spice tolerance is. Don't have to ask him if this is too much or too little. So I've kind of been able to gauge over the months or kind of known each other that I kind of used to what he likes. So it's been a bit easier, but it does take a lot more time, a lot more communication, I would say, to invest to ensure that we are understanding each other, because based on how he was raised or I was raised, we may approach situations differently. And so I think being openly about how we communicate, how we deal with stress, how we deal with disagreements was very important to ensure that we weren't, I guess, having like preconceived judgments or assumptions about each other and stuff like that.
And
so.
the tone of voice, I think, is a big one.
Oh, that's so big. Jamaicans always sound angry. Even when I'm happy, I don't know, we're just such as passionate people that always sound, I don't know, just the tone of voice, that was a big thing. That is,
Yeah, because in England, you only raise your voice if you're angry.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you're loud for other reasons. We all were quite monotone, especially British men. But when Dana's passionate, especially with Olympics.
Yeah, oh gosh, let's not get to Olympics.
Screaming. Like the passion that comes out of her mouth is loud.
Yeah, I mean, not all Jamaicans are loud, obviously. You have, persons who are a bit more quiet. But for the most part, my family at least, majority of us, we're pretty high on the volume. So, but next question is, so when I met you, I was wearing, my hair was similar to what it is now. Did you think it was my real hair? And have you come to understand some of my different hairstyles?
So, I'd only ever dated one girl who wasn't white, and that was, we just weren't compatible at all. So, as she, looking back now, I think she also wasn't her actual hair. But so, what I'm getting at is that I thought it was her actual hair, because I had no idea about how like black people have like different hairstyles and stuff like that. I thought wigs, as a white person, we only think wigs are for people who lose their hair. So we don't understand that it's actually like an aesthetic component to wigs. So I thought it was her actual hair. It's only about after, what was it, a couple of weeks of dating, I realised it wasn't your actual hair because you showed me. And it's made me realise, like, coming back to your different hairstyles, you can look so different just with, like, you have like the straight hair wigs, which you had, I think, for your wedding. Our wedding. And it's made me appreciate the amount of effort that my wife has to put into that. For us, well, at least for me, obviously some girls have big routines. For me, it's just wash, maybe a bit of gel now and again. And we wash our hair all the time as well. For me, grease is a bad thing. And I know for Dana, she washes her hair like once every what?
Every 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
maybe
a
week.
Like
It depends on the style I have. When I have in braids, it's a bit longer. But I have to oil my hair. He runs away from oiling his hair. And
the money as well. It's so expensive. Now that I'm married, trust me, I know how expensive it is.
But the differences are beautiful. But I think it's also important, if you are an interracial couple, to acknowledge those differences, to understand where your partner is coming from, to understand your partner's culture. And at all times, we tie these things back to the body of Christ, because we're all one body. We may look differently, we may have, different way of life and different cultures, but at the end of the day, we're all God's children. And so how we relate to each other should be out of love, should be out of respect and understanding. And that takes time to understand somebody, Because
I think what's beautiful is that it's the case that we've embraced the fact that our family is both Jamaican and British. It's not the case that we're both trying to dominate, because obviously we don't want to do that. It's not the case that we're just holding back. It's the case that we put Christ at the center of a relationship, not culture, not ourselves,
race,
not race.
Us, exactly.
It is purely, so when I see my wife, I'm not seeing a Jamaican woman, nor is she seeing a white British husband. We're seeing that is my wife, he is my husband. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, is that our souls can be joined in that way through our covenant, without worldly things being stopping that from happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a good thing. I think being it's not an excuse. So it's not when you have an argument, oh well, that's why I thought because I'm Jamaican. No, if think about from a Christ perspective, is is this how God would want me to speak? Is what would Jesus do in this situation? And so not using culture as an excuse, but always going back to the foundation, which is Jesus Christ.
I mean, because what we should do is predicate our family culture, like what's in our house, on the Bible.
Yeah.
So cutting off things which are very worldly.
Exactly.
For instance, if you have a family culture of pursuing money over everything, like certain families might, who are not religious, it's the idea that you wouldn't then continue that just because, well, it's my culture, because the only thing that can unify a man and a woman truly is God.
It's God.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
So this is a good one. This is number 5. How did you know that I was the one? I think someone asked this as well in the comment section.
I think one thing is, not only when we prayed, so on the first date, after we'd actually done the food, like the fun, like we went, we were in our car just talking, because obviously the date wasn't over yet.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that it was raining and that we couldn't do like some romantic beach sit or something, because it was nice weather before it rained.
Yeah.
I managed to impress you with something as simple as just bringing hot chocolate, and that really won her over. Like, you should have seen her reaction. It was like I had presented gold bars or something. And I think that intertwined with when we prayed together, like how deeply, like you really felt the presence of God. And obviously that presence has never left, hence why we've managed to get this far. And that is something which is so divine and is so, like, I have never had that ever. I'd only gone on a couple dates before Dana, and none of them went anywhere because we truly weren't, like, there was something missing, and that missing was the presence of God. Not just from the ideals of they weren't religious or weren't religious enough. It was deeper than that. It was like, we are not compatible from a spiritual sense, not just from you might be attracted to someone, but that's a worldly, that might be a lustful desire. And I feel like we were both two imperfect people made perfect through God. Does that make sense? Because that's the case for all humans. And when we prayed, we listened to a bit of gospel music. It was something which will forever be with me. And you know the song Somewhere Only We Know? I love to listen to that song and know that there's a patch of grass near my family's house, which people will walk by and think it's just a patch of grass. But for us, that is where I met my wife. That is where I knew what my future would entail. Does that make sense?
Okay, so the next one is, what is something that you've grown to love about me as a Jamaican woman specifically?
The loyalty. I feel like when I was early dating you, as we remember, I had to do research about dating my Jamaican wife.
I think the pastor recommended that, actually, doing counseling. And
you realise, like, you need to hold on. You can't let her slip through your fingers, in the sense that you're holding gold dust. Does that make sense? Like, Jamaican women are loyal. If they love you, they will do anything righteous to basically keep you not only healthy but happy, safe. And to be able to accidentally let that slip through your fingers by not understanding that would be something which is foolish. I think it's a very simple sense. So I like the loyalty, and not only that, like the passion as well. Like, the passion for Christ you have is something so compelling. Something so compelling is your devotion to Christ. I feel like it's something which, although we all search for, we don't truly respect it until we see it. Does that make sense? And like, when I felt just like the way you pray and just how you remind me, have you read your Bible? Have you prayed? That level of accountability just shows the love that you have, if that makes sense, not only for Christ but for this covenant. Because to keep me on track is something which is way more useful than giving me money or hugs, kisses, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That is way more important because you help me remember why we're doing this and the eternal life which comes through this devotion.
I think it's important as a woman of God, as a wife, is that we are supposed to be our husband's biggest accountability partners. You know, we are expecting this man to lead and we follow, so we have to also ensure that they are accountable to following Christ. A lot of times it's easier said than done, but I feel like in today's culture, you know, a lot of persons, we start off on the foundations of Christ, but easily money, you know, kids later on, sickness, whatever it is, it may cloud your mind from the covenant that was made. And so once we're not happy, we leave, or once things don't go according to plan, then persons tend to feel it's okay to break the covenant. And so it's, like I said, easier said than done, because I know things are not that simple. But as women of God, we are accountable to ensuring our husbands are following Christ, reading their Bible, praying, but also that they're okay. Like, though they are men and they're strong, you know, they also have an emotional side to them. And so we have to ensure that they are physically and emotionally able to lead this family, you know, alongside with, of course, the Lord being the leader of everything. So and then the last question is something that you were surprised about when you first met me.
I think that it kind of relates back to what we mentioned earlier, and that is just like how wholesome this is between us, in the sense that, going back to the hot chocolate, how that something as simple as that could wow you. I feel like because I grew up in England, things unfortunately can seem very, like, people need so much to be impressed nowadays. Does that make sense? Like, oh, you need to take them to the fanciest restaurant, you need to have the greatest meal ever, you need to have like a one-to-one connection, like nothing can be different, and only then do you have a chance of actually having a relationship. But I feel like because of your humble background and your devotion to Christ, you see beauty in things which someone who didn't have that love for Christ may not see. And I feel like just being able to grow together in this relationship shows me how devoted you are. And that's what surprised me, only because I had not personally experienced that from someone else before. Does that make sense? That's why it surprised me. And it's just such a beautiful thing, and that's why there is a ring on the finger, and that is why we are where we are, because there is no one who could replace you.
So that's what we have for you guys today. If you have any more questions that you want myself to answer, or Hadley, leave them in the comment section. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you guys were able to understand a bit more of where we're coming from, but also, most importantly, be able to grasp the love of God that He has for you. I know many persons said they were waiting for their spouse as well. Your patience is not unseen. God sees you, He knows, and He understands. And I always say it's better for you to wait on the Lord to provide you somebody than you rush into something prematurely and it ends up causing you pain later on down the line. You know, like I said, easier said than done, because when you're in your 20s, going into 30s, maybe even 40s, and you've been praying and you've been waiting, it can be a bit discouraging. But the God that we serve, He knows us better than we do ourselves. He can see past, future, and present and future. And so my advice would be for women who are waiting, who are praying, keep praying, keep waiting on the Lord, because He will supply your needs according to His will, because His ways are better than our ways. You know, so a lot of times, like I said, I know it can be a bit hard, but don't give up. The Lord sees you and He loves you very much. Okay? Okay. Alrighty, until next time.
See you soon.
Bye.